Senator Rand Paul has an interesting take on the definition of stealing an election. Because again, that's the narrative right now. The Democrats, they stole the 2020 election. That's what happened. They did it with the China vote, or they did it with drop boxes. But no, Rand Paul is going to say, goddamn Democrats, I can't believe they stole the election by letting people vote in a legal way. Here's what he wrote on Twitter. How to steal an election. Seeding an area heavy with potential Democratic votes with as many absentee ballots as possible during a pandemic, and targeting and convincing potential voters to complete them in a legally valid way, and then harvesting and counting the results. Y'all, literally, that's how voting works. Again, convincing people to vote for you and then collecting the ballots is, yes, it's called democracy. Literally, what you do. But of course, to Rand Paul, how voting works, how democracy works, no, that's not how it works to him. That's called stealing. Yes, stealing. How dare they convince people to vote for them and then actually give them the ability to vote? Huh? How dare you? Oh, such a terrible thing. No, they shouldn't be allowed to vote unless they vote for me. That's the rule here. Goddamn. Now, but here's the thing. You might think that it sounds crazy that to really illustrate that they're against democracy. But it's true. The Republican plan has been for decades to not let people vote. Again, all the way back to Paul Weyrich. Now, Paul Weyrich is the godfather of the modern conservative movement and the creator of a lot of different shady right-wing organizations that have been working to undermine democracy. And so I'm going to show you a video here. This is all the way back in the 80s of Weyrich admitting that, yes, their plan is to make sure that less people vote.
Now, many of our Christians have what I call the goo-goo syndrome. Good government. They want everybody to vote. I don't want everybody to vote. Elections are not won by a majority of people. They never have been from the beginning of our country, and they are not now. As a matter of fact, our leverage in the elections, quite candidly, goes up as the voting populace goes down.
And there it is. I mean, it can't be more clear. There's the right-winger admitting that, yeah, no, I don't believe in democracy. I don't want people voting. I don't want anybody voting unless they vote for us. That's it. The less people voting that we have, the more that we win. That's it. I mean, again, they prove it over and over again. And by the way, this is not the first guy that's openly admitted it. Trump's admitted it. Rand Paul admitting it, essentially, by saying that actual voting is stealing. That's what it is. It is fascism. And so, you have the voter suppression, you have the purges, you have the, all of that, the long waiting lines, the removing of polling places and primarily Latino or Democratic heavy areas. That's all part of the plan. And you add to it the nonsensical claims about voter fraud, which constitutes a whopping 0.00004% of all total votes cast. It is an astronomically small amount, inconsequential, the amount of in-person voter fraud there actually is. But then again, you have the propaganda against, we can't have the ballot boxes, we can't have, because they're not secure. They're not secure. Who's going to break into a ballot, a voter drop box? Really? Really? And then, of course, they talk about, the ballot harvesting. You mean you send out a bunch of ballots and people will fill them out if they want to vote, and then they send them back. And then you have people that are designated to collect them. That's all ballot harvesting is. It's just an easier way to have democracy, which we should be making democracy more easy to participate in. But again, that's not their plan. They don't want that. They want it to be much more difficult. And it's all in an effort to stop certain people from voting. And by the way, on January 6th, you want to talk about stealing? They literally did try to steal it. And by the way, I'm not talking about the rioters either. No. So now Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro literally sat there and schemed together on how to end democracy in this country. And they had this plan that was cooked up called the Green Bay Sweep. Now, it's a sports analogy, essentially, your sports term. Okay? And that term basically involves running the same play over and over again. Now, according to Navarro's memoir, the plot sought to keep Trump in office by exerting maximum pressure on Vice President Mike Pence to block the certification of the Electoral College votes from swing states by drawing up the proceedings on national television for as long as 24 hours. So delay, because Pence will say, oh, I don't know, we got so much fraud, I refuse to certify, even though it's a ceremonial role. I'm going to refuse to certify, and I'm just going to sit on it because I'm just not sure. I hear about all this fraud. And then they do a constant news cycle because everybody's going to be focused on it. And in that news cycle, they put out propaganda. Sowing doubt about the election, and this is what happened about the same time that, there were these recounts that, again, were happening all across the country, in the states, doing the constant recounts and constant court challenges and things like that. That was supposed to dominate the news cycle. And with the propaganda, and all of that is to convince not just the people, not just the voters, which, by the way, the voters, they know who they voted for, more than voted for Joe Biden than they did Donald Trump. And so, but it's meant to sow confusion and then allow for these states to go and recall their electors and appoint ones who will then vote for Donald Trump and then such destroy democracy by installing an illegitimate president. Simple as that. And so there would be no inauguration in the meantime, by the way, if they had done that, which means Trump would effectively remain president in their eyes. And again, those states would be able to change their electors without people complaining. And then you have a stolen election. That's it. Now, it failed. Good, because we still have a democracy, as small as it is, and as imperiled and troubled as it is. But the institutions held. Now, it failed partly because of the rioters, but also, again, mainly because of Mike Pence. To his credit, Mike Pence refused to steal an election for Donald Trump. I know, damning with faint praise. But at this point, it's like, can you believe that it was Mike Pence that was a person, one of the people who stood on the side of democracy? Weird. And the reason I say that is because Mike Pence most certainly knew the plan. He knew what he was supposed to do. Trump kept telling him, Mike Pence, where are you, Mike Pence? You're supposed to do the thing. It's all up to you, Mike Pence. And for a lot of people were wondering, why is he saying that about Mike Pence? Just a ceremonial role. Well, it turns out it's all part of the Green Bay Sweep. It's all part of this plan, which Trump obviously knew of. And here's Bannon and Navarro literally telling people, yes, this was our plan to steal democracy. But yeah, Mike Pence was the quarterback in their analogy. Now, Navarro wrote this, quote, Pence had blown the play and secured his place in history as the Brutus most responsible for the final betrayal of President Trump. They had 100 senators on board. Or I'm sorry, not senators, congressmen. And he said, quote, it was a perfect plan. We had over 100 congressmen committed to it. The political and legal beauty of this strategy is that the challenges would force up to 2 hours of debate per state in each chamber of Congress in order to push that propaganda. So now, January 6th Commission. You need evidence? Well, here's your evidence. Peter Navarro literally admitting it in his book. They're out there stupidly announcing their plans to usurp the country and end democracy as we know it. Now, here's the thing. Do you think they're going to stop or not try again? Again, they're openly admitting it. So, of course, they'll try again. If nobody does anything to stop them, if you don't put a stop to it, they're going to try it again, and they might actually succeed if they have someone who is willing to play ball. Now, Rand Paul is openly talking about, how voting is stealing an election. But here you have Peter Navarro, a member of the Trump administration, Bannon, a former member of the Trump administration. Well, they're both former members, but at the time that he was doing this, that he was penning this, was a part of the Trump administration, part of the government, saying, here's the plan to overthrow the government. And you had other members in office who were joining in that. You had people like spineless worm Ted Cruz, Paul Gosar, man who's literally so unhinged that his entire family pleaded with people, pleaded with them, please don't vote for this insane person. We know him. He's our brother. He's crazy. Do not vote for him. And others. And the point of this is that, look, if the Democrats don't take action against this, what do you think the right wing is going to do? We can get away with it. Sure, we might have failed the first time, but they didn't try to stop us for a second time because they're too weak and they're feckless and they're not going to do anything to protect democracy. That's really sad. And if they're too weak to put a stop to this blatant attempt at theft, why wouldn't they do it again? Why wouldn't they do it again? And so, look, to them, by the way, the Republicans, it's not stealing. As Rand Paul just said, voting and participating in democracy for them is stealing. Because when that happens, when people vote, they tend to lose. So the Democrats, take a look. This is their plan. This is what they're going to do. For God's sakes, pay attention. Up to it. Protect democracy like you thought you're supposed to.